Hello and welcome to video 31. It's the 31st of August. Lovely bright sunny day. I was thinking this morning that I haven't done very much on the environment, and that's something that I'm very concerned about. What brought it to my mind was I received a Facebook post from a friend from junior school, as it happens, and he was saying how damaging to the environment electric vehicles are, and that really we should never go down that path. It's all just to make money, and it's going to make things worse. Now, I have no idea where he gets all his information other than from the YouTube clips that he puts on, which are from American agitators who are very anti-EV, and the suspicion, although I can't prove it, is that they are in the employ of the petrochemical industry. I come from a very different angle. I don't come from the angle of watching YouTube. I come from the fact that I've got a degree that includes physics, that I understand to a certain extent what's going on, and it concerns me. One of the biggest concerns I have is the fact that burning any hydrocarbon does cause pollution. We know that. When you put into the mix what's been added to petroleum to give us the petrol that we use, we are seeing serious long-term effects, particularly on young people who are brought up close to busy roads, busy streets. I think the problems go far, far deeper than that. The burning of fossil fuels throughout the world is causing problems. Not only, as I said, with global warming, the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. A little aside there, I have a little bugbear about people calling the release of carbon. No, carbon isn't bad. We are carbon-based life forms. We need carbon. It's when it's combined with oxygen to give you carbon dioxide that you have problems. As I said, my approach is different. The burning of fossil fuels, of hydrocarbons, is bad. We should do everything we can to stop it. Now, this person's argument was along the lines that an EV is just as bad for the environment, if not worse, because of the way it's produced. Well, I suppose the bottom line is that a car is a car. They all require manufacturing, and all of them require energy and are subject to the release of carbon dioxide in the process, at least for the time being. There's been a lot of work being done with the steel industry to try and get rid of those emissions. The tyres, the wheels, all those things, yeah, the paint, they're the same. But an EV doesn't burn petrol or diesel, which I actually think is worse. This morning I went out for a jog again. All right, I'll call it a run, but it was a jog. And as I was going round, two HGVs came past. We need goods to be transported, but these were diesel HGVs, and a car came the other way, an electric car, quiet, and of course no emissions. I think we ought to be doing everything we can to reduce that. I think too, you've got to go back over 100 years now to when petrol cars first started coming into existence. There was a lot of talk of how bad they were for the environment, and also that horses were much better, they were more fuel efficient, they were cheaper, they lasted longer. Well, actually, that was perfectly true at that time. That was very true. Also, that petrol vehicles were very expensive. Oh, yes, they were. You really had to be earning a large income to be able to afford one, which is why Henry Ford set up the Ford Motor Company to try and produce motor vehicles at a price that anyone could afford. The same is very much today when it comes to EVs, they're expensive. Even the cheapest ones are expensive, although now they're not much more than a petrol or diesel vehicle. But as with working with early petrol engines, they tried different fuels, they tried different way of working. Some of them went okay, some of them went disastrous, some of them exploded. It didn't work. Keeping petrol safe, how did you keep it safe in the vehicle? How did you store it safely before you sold it? All these were questions that had to be addressed, and to a large extent have been solved. The detractors of EVs point to the problem with batteries. Yeah, there are problems with batteries, of course there are. Early ones didn't hold much charge. They were relatively expensive, they were very expensive. They were subject to fires, they could explode, they could burn rapidly. But mind you, if you look at the statistics, it's considerably less in the way of vehicle fires than with petrol or diesel vehicles. The thing is, there's a lot of research being done into the production of good batteries. Lithium is often quoted as being a problem. Okay, let's go down the periodic table. We come to sodium next. That's a little bit safer and it's easier to mine. It's still fairly inflammable though. I've seen that experiment. Quite good fun when they were still allowed to do that for pupils in schools. And further down the table too we find calcium. Now, calcium's not a problem, it's everywhere. We've got a lot of it in our bodies. So, okay, there are other potential ingredients for batteries. The race is on to find an efficient and an economically produced battery, and one that's got a good charge capacity, a good range on it. Is it going to be one? Yes, of course it will. There's going to be a lot of money made by the company that comes up with the ideal battery. At the moment, the Chinese seem to be very much up on that. And BYD have been producing some very good batteries. Their Blade battery is renowned. However, there are companies in the United States and in fact in Europe and in the UK that have got other options they're working on. Are EVs the perfect solution? No, not for everything. Will they ever be? Well, we're going to have to stop burning fossil fuels, so the answer is there has to be an alternative. Producing hydrogen isn't necessarily a good idea. At the moment, if we're talking about, say, powering a home with hydrogen gas, there are problems. Hydrogen leaks out of anything. It's the smallest molecule. So we've got a problem there. It's hard to keep it enclosed. Now there's ways of bonding it with different materials, there's ways of keeping it under pressure at low temperatures. Now these can probably work, I think, for maybe heavy goods vehicles. Although I even say that with trepidation because the Tesla Semi, as they call it, is still producing, they produced a very, very good tractor unit for HGVs. There are vehicles, and I believe JCB are working with them, for excavators and heavy vehicles from earth movers with batteries. Is it the solution? I don't know. If you're out in the middle of Africa, maybe that's not a very good solution. But equally, now solar panels are becoming a lot more efficient. Just a couple of years ago, we were told there was a limit of their efficiency at around about 30-35%. Which is fantastic over the first ones, which were around about 7 or 8%. But just lately, there's been a revelation that there's a new solar cell that's around 40-50% efficient. I think both batteries and solar cells, and in fact all renewable sources, have still got a long way to go in their research and development. Does that mean we shouldn't adopt them now? No, of course not. I think we have to adopt them. Simply because that produces a market and generates the money that encourages the research and the development for better and more efficient and cheaper solutions. I'm old enough to remember the release of the first DVD player. it came into round about £1,200–1,300 if I remember rightly. A lot of money. People bought them though, because the picture quality was and is superb. The last DVD player, I actually bought it for my mother. It cost me £14.95 from Tesco. There's a slight difference there. It was the same technology, packaged differently, lots of refinements. And I believe we're going to find the same happening with electric vehicles. There's going to be a huge range of technologies. There's going to be many, many options that we can have. The price will tumble. Already in China, electric vehicles and internal combustion engine vehicles are priced the same. Okay, there are Chinese government subsidies towards it, but fair enough. For the consumer, it's the same. I personally think we're going to hit that parity very, very soon without subsidies. At the moment, we're having a few million EVs produced a year. Once production starts to get up to the same level as still is for petrol and diesel vehicles, we're going to see a huge reduction in the price. Why am I confident about that? Good question. The answer is actually quite simple. Big motor manufacturers, BMW, Ford, Nissan with some kicking I think, Toyota, with some more kicking. They are all producing electric vehicles. Now, you may have your qualms about saying that the boards of these companies have got environmental issues at their heart. They may not. What they do have at their hearts very often is money. And they are seeing that this is a profitable path to go down. So, in a sense, the detractor I was speaking about earlier, he's right. There is big money behind it. But the big money is behind EVs. Elon Musk, I have qualms about him, but he's right. People have said he's just a billionaire wanting to make more money. Actually, his dream is that we should all have electric vehicles. He actually has a dream to get rid of dirty internal combustion engine vehicles. And for that, I praise him and I say thank you. So, that's my EV rant. And on that basis, thank you very much for listening, assuming you have listened all the way through and not turned off halfway through. My end of August, end of video 31. And I'm hoping this weather lasts a little bit longer. The forecast says that by Friday we could be into rain. Oh dear, that's September. So, end of video 31. Thank you very much for being with me, and hopefully see you on the next video. Bye bye.